So the next question comes from admissions. The Office of Admissions continues to strive for increased student engagement during the yielding period of in the months of February, March, and April. Yeah. During your term, what types of tangible initiatives would you like to see passed to increase student engagement with prospective students? Mm-hmm. What initiatives are currently in place that you'd like to further expand or better improve?
Yeah. So the admissions office has been doing an awesome job of connecting current Penn students to current Penn students to likely students. I know my running mate Josh Chilko has actually been in contact with students who are interested in the UA, and I've been communicating with them with the UA. I think it's pushing these types of initiatives forward, and I would do that by connecting the admissions office to even further student groups on campus, so that students who are coming into Penn know that there is some group organization out there for them.
Yeah, so one of the initiatives I worked with Christian Cortez, who was a committee director this year on the UA, and the admissions office, was the creation of this kind of synergy between several of the steering groups, UA steering groups, and those new incoming students, so that it was more possible for those students who were coming to Penn to connect with groups that were in line with maybe some of the things that they were interested in doing, whether that's performing arts or cultural groups or sports, whatever it is. So my hope is to expand that program with the admissions office. I think that's going to reap a greater level of benefit. It'll also make this whole not hearing anything from Penn for like 3 or 4 months after you get accepted and enrolled kind of whittle out, so you can start making networks even before you come to Penn. And then finally, I think in regards to some of the expo projects that have been going on campus with the new likely students and the new ED students, we have to foster that connection, because when ED students get in here, they want to know that Penn is a vibrant place. I think expanding those expo projects and even having more overnights over the course of the year would actually be great in increasing, one, our yield, and two, showing off how great Penn is.
Yeah, also Christian did an incredible job creating the Penn Previews Day committee. I think it's also important that current students have a more engaged voice on what the admissions office does. So I would continually advocate for having that student voice. And furthermore, recently, this past year, Penn was trying to get rid of Multicultural Scholars Preview, and this is something I directly work with the Phi Beyond to bring it back. It's these types of programs that allow students, likely students coming in, feel welcome and have a home here at Penn.
So the final question is submitted on behalf of Penn student government. How do you intend to engage with the other branches of student government to ensure that we don't feel like the UA is acting without regard for our interests? A key source to this was the budget debacle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Is that me?
Yeah.
So I'm actually really glad you asked that question. The way I see the budget working next year would be very, very different in terms of the budget committee right now in the UA almost has unilateral power to delegate how much money they give to the different groups. Of course, they work with the different student government branches to give them their money, and there are requests, and there's a process of formulas and all that other stuff. But the discussion starts in January, not in November or even December around that time, to find out what the interests and where the money is being used and where the trends are in terms of funding. I think in part, increasing that channel of communication so that it's not rushed as it was this year would be a great way to not only, I guess, decrease the number of, I guess, somewhat altercations that we have in the UA sometimes over money. It would also, I think, improve the communication between the branches so that in the future there's no general issue of funding specifically. Only because I feel like in my last 3 years on the UA, budget has always been an issue. It's always been a problem. It always divides people. Honestly, this is a pocket of money that the student government has, and that it should delegate not equally, but necessarily in a way that the different student government organizations feel is most comfortable to them. We have to make sure that we're not being this group that's condescending and that is literally just giving them money, but they have to feel a part of actually making the decisions, and this budget commission would do just that.
Yeah, so I think it comes from building personal relationships and a lot of forethought. I think in relation specifically to the budget experience this year, I think unfortunately some internal politics that happened in the UA did push back the budget process, which may have been part of the reason why everything was so last minute. I think that there needs to be better forethought. As UA president, I would make sure that there's better forethought when it comes to communicating with different branches of student government. And also this goes back to personal connections. Last year I hosted a social at my apartment between the UA and the NEC. I think it's important to move these kinds of things forward so that we feel comfortable together, we're working together, we should have that personal relationships. I found that the people that I work best with are the ones who are my closest friends. And 5B and my own social justice committee is a testament to that. I would make sure to build these relationships by having these types of social events with different members of PSG.
Yeah, social events are great, and I'm totally in favor of that, but I also, we don't have like PSG steering group meetings. We only had one this past year that I remember. I'd like to make those, if not monthly, bi-monthly, so that at least we can all kind of touch base at some point during the year about what each branch is doing, what are some of the problems, and this would work in tandem again with the Budget Commission that would begin its work in November to begin discussion on the budget for the very next year. I know we don't have our numbers by then, but we can at least begin discussion on where we see trends going so that by January, again, this whole problem with the budget doesn't arise again, and we can move much smoother through the process than we have in the past.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I don't think bi-monthly, I think monthly. We should have monthly meetings at PSG steering. And I think that talking about budget as a common theme throughout